Hi, my name's Jonathan Baldock, and this is my exhibition, Facecrime. So the inspiration for this exhibition came about through my research in trying to find an alternative history of ceramics that went beyond functional objects. And so I found myself in the British Museum, and I was looking, just having a wander around, and I just stumbled across these Mesopotamian clay tablets with these ancient inscriptions in cuneiform language, which was a very old pictorial language which is now completely extinct. But I was really struck by the fact that this was a use of clay that, as a means of communication. So I sort of mirrored that with the fastest growing pictorial language today, which is actually emojis, and started thinking about how emojis exist in the non-physical, in the digital. The exhibition could be seen in sort of two chapters, I guess. The first gallery has a room full of masks, and these masks were made at the same time as this exhibition, and basically they started off being made out of scrap clays, and so they were kind of like test slabs that I very intuitively sort of put two eyes and a mouth in, and the mask is something that has long been a fascination for me in my work. So it is sort of a recurring motif. So I guess I was sort of drawn to this in very sort of an instinctive way. But it's sort of gone on to become a body of work in itself. So now I think I've made getting well over 100 masks, and they're all completely different. But the fascinating thing I think about them is, again, they're very much open to the projection of the viewer. So what I might see as being a sort of a happy mask or a happy face, maybe the viewer might see them being, something very different. It's a very interesting way of communicating, and how we communicate with what is essentially two eyes and a mouth, and not even a mouth sometimes. I hope, that would be a sort of a nice entree to the exhibition before you then get into this exhibition, which the works in this gallery took 18 months to make. So it's a really, really long time, to work on an exhibition. It's an incredibly slow process to make ceramics. It's incredibly difficult material in a lot of ways, and the way that I went about making the masks, sort of very sort of organically, intuitively, and they're really fun to make. I hope you see that. There's a lot more labor and a lot more frustration in them, because there's a lot more potential for things to go wrong. So ceramic taking on a more sort of a larger scale, a grander scale that perhaps could dwarf us, and ceramic is such a material that is so bodily for me. So it's not a perfect material. It warps, it cracks, and so it has this fragility to it as well. And I feel, I've balanced these columns in a manner that you could feel like they could come tumbling down on you at any moment. So it's in part a ruin. It could be a ruin. It could be a space that's somehow used for some function that we don't really know. But they are also very bodily in scale, so they're about the width of a human body, but they also have the marks of my human body as somebody that's made them. I've made every single one of these. So they have the punctures and the pressings and the emoji pressings on them. And so I really do see them as a cast of characters. And one thing that you'll hopefully find out when you see the exhibition is that they also speak. So they communicate with each other in a non-verbal way. And I'm really fascinated with non-verbal ways of communicating. So these are universally understood means of communication. And so things like sobs and sighs and laughters, which are found globally. And so it's hopefully an exhibition that speaks very much on a sort of emotional way, on a physical way, and works on multiple levels. It could be seen as being very funny. I'm hoping that children will enjoy it. You know, it's colourful, and it's an immersive installation that hopefully you'll spend time with, and that you will take your own sort of feelings from or bring to the exhibition, I guess. So the processes that I've used in this exhibition, even though they're fundamentally that it's a ceramic show, there's also glass, there's basket weaving. It's really an exhibition that is full of materials. As an artist, I love materials. I'm incredibly drawn to the handmade and the trace of the human body in the work. Sometimes my work incorporates performance. So there's the relationship of the body and the work is a really important one for me. Not just my body, but also the body of the visitor. So I hope there's a connection with how you experience the work, in that a lot of the materials that I use are perhaps materials or crafts, shall we say, that we all have some understanding or knowledge of how they were made. So there's hopefully a connection of how you can imagine the work being made, and that trace of the body and the mark making in the body, which is a language in its own right. The experience of the visitor is really, really important to me. You know, I make the work, but I put it in this space for people to people have their own experience with the work. So, you know, I'm hoping that people spend a good amount of time with it and enjoy the work. You can walk around them and encounter the works in your own way, and it really works on a very micro scale. So I hope it's a real feast for the eyes when you first walk into the exhibition, but that there's lots of details that will pull you in, so you have those little personal moments. You'll see inside, like, some of the columns that I've coated them with wax, and then the fingers kind of wiggle out. So it's kind of reminiscent of a bone, that when you break it and you see the bone marrow. So there's this very sort of fleshy bodiliness about the work wherever you go, and of course that relationship of the body that encounters it, your body.